Old Soldier here, and I am back to talk about Mission Impossible 7 Dead Reckoning Part 1 and my thoughts on this fucking fantastic film. This was the best fucking film I think I've watched in a long fucking time. Like, this was just awesome all the way through. There's nothing in this film that wasn't great. The characters, the CGI, the story. Oh my god, the story is so fucking great. And it's interesting. But the biggest thing for me, the biggest thing is the main bad guy. Because this bad guy is the best bad guy we've had in a really long time. It is so fucking inventive. It is like, and it's literally something that could actually happen. And it's so fucking insane how possible that is. And oh my god, again, this film is just 10 out of 10. And you've got to give so much that credit to Tom Cruise because, my God, to think where Mission Impossible started to where it is now, I mean, this is all of his work, and it's just amazing. And again, the story is so fucking good. It's like the possibility of this bad guy coming true. Like, this is no longer science fiction. Like, this could actually happen. And it is fucking terrifying. And, oh my god, it's just, I cannot believe how good this film felt to just watch it in a cinema. And I wasn't on my own because, again, last film I watched was Indiana Jones and it was an empty fucking theatre. And I'm watching this and I had to leave work early. And I thought I was going at a time when nobody was going to be there. The fucking cinema was already full when I got there. And it's unbelievable. This film is going to make a hell of a lot of money. And it deserves it. It really does. And this film is going to single-handedly kill the Indiana Jones film. It's going to do that. There is no way Indiana Jones survives the next couple of weeks. There's no fucking way. That film is a bomb. It's over. And that is just the icing on the cake for me. That is. This film was amazing. And it's also going to do massive damage to Disney. I mean, that fucking great. But again, to the actual film, I can't keep talking about the bad guy. I mean, it's just so inventive, so interesting. And you literally, it just, how it's made, why it turns bad, and what's its plan. And it's fucking interesting. I really want to find out more about it, but unfortunately it's only part 1, and I am fucking annoyed about that, because this, again, I would have stayed in that theatre for 4 hours if they just released both movies, but I know they haven't done the second one yet, but you know what I mean. When a film's so good, you don't want it to end. And I didn't. That's how good this film was. I want to see it again. I want to see it 3 fucking times. Again, it's just such a great movie, and it's a great feeling. And it's like, I know this is going to sound weird, but it just feels like a movie. That's all it felt like. It didn't feel like it was sending you a fucking message. It didn't feel like it was sending you a woke bullshit. It was just a fucking film that was there to entertain you. And maybe remind you of little things that are happening in the world. But it didn't feel forced in your face. And yes, this film feels really relevant to where we are at now as a society and technology and stuff. But it doesn't feel like it's going to be stuck in this time. It feels like you can watch this in 20 years and still get the same emotions and still feel like it's just an interesting watch. And, you know, Ethan Hunt is a great character. All of the side characters also feel important. Simon Pegg might be a cunt on Twitter, but you liked the Benji character. Luther as well. And again, it's just, that is why you go to a cinema. You go there to be entertained. You go there to have fun. You go there to want to talk about it. That's what a film should fucking do. And that is what this film does. It just entertains you and fucking hell makes you enjoy yourself. And I give all the credit to fucking Tom Cruise. And I love the fact, before this movie came out, what was he doing? He was going on the fucking internet. He was sending the fans message. He was thanking the fans. Again, how is it that hard for companies in Hollywood to understand what they are? They are supposed to be a marketing place. It's supposed to be, you're trying to get people to watch your film. Not fucking tell some people to watch your film and then tell the rest of the people to piss off. That is not what you're supposed to do. And Tom Cruise did not do that. He just wants people to watch his fucking film. And thank fuck that this film has already broken records. It's been out a couple of days. And it's already broken the box office record for an opening week. Opening day. So, this film was just amazing. It's gonna break $1 billion. It's just going to. It's a good enough film that I think it's gonna make that. Well, it's gonna make that. And I can't wait. And, oh God, I really want to go into spoilers now because it's just too good not to talk about. So, it's a 10 out of 10. Straight up, 10 out of 10. If you have not watched this film, go fucking watch it. Don't just go see it in a regular theatre. Go to IMAX. It is worth every penny to watch it in IMAX. And send a message to the fucking arseholes in Hollywood that this is what we want. Not a woke pile of shit Indiana Jones getting bitch slapped by... Oh, I can't go into that. But you know what I mean. You know, we just want to be entertained. We want to have fun. That's it. So a 10 out of 10. Go watch it. Now, let's go into spoilers now. If you do not want to hear about spoilers, leave in 3, 2, 1. So, the movie starts off with us on a Russian submarine apparently doing test trials of a new stealth technology. That means it can pretty much go wherever it wants and nobody will be able to detect it. The Russian captain mentions how they've tested every navy in the world and it turns out none of them could find it. And so, yes, the trials are done and it's a complete success. Then the ship gets a signal from the computer telling it that a US submarine has been seen in the area and is targeting the submarine, and the submarine fires a torpedo because the Americans do first, and when the torpedo reaches the submarine it disappears. No, sorry, wrong thing. When the Americans' torpedo reaches the Russian submarine, it disappears, and the Russians on board have no idea what's going on. But then they kind of realise they fucked up because the torpedo they sent to destroy the fake American submarine has also disappeared, and the torpedo is now turned around and is heading straight for the Russian submarine. And when the control manager person tries to deactivate the torpedo, turns out it can't be done because the computer has got involved and disabled the panel where the Russian can turn off the missile. And then the missile just impacts the submarine, destroys it, and now, yeah, something massively dangerous is released into the world. My little bit of a, let's say, critique of this would be, I don't think it should be Russians. I feel that it should have been Chinese. I kind of feel Russia right now, it kind of doesn't really make sense to have the Russians being the ones with this top technology, especially how they're, doing in Ukraine right now. I kind of think it's kind of a little bit unbelievable, let's just say. So I kind of think they should have said it's a Chinese submarine. But I get it. They want to do well in China. But I think it makes more story sense if it was a Chinese submarine. Anyway, the next scene is, well, after the credits, next scene is a delivery person heading into a dark room where he then meets up with Ethan Hunt and gives him a bag. But it turns out this guy might be new to IMF because he doesn't really know what he's doing some of the time. And Ethan's pretty much just walking him through, like, you're supposed to give me a message, I'm supposed to give you a code back to you, and all that stuff. And so they get through all that. He hands Ethan the bag, and then whilst he's walking off, Ethan says, "Welcome to IMF." And there you go. And in the package is a tape recorder and some pictures, and we then hear the voice of Kittredge, the guy from the first Mission Impossible, and he's informing Ethan of his new mission, which is to find his girlfriend Elsa, who is in the possession of a key that the CIA or the American government want, and they need Ethan to go get her and bring the key back to America. But we also see in this scene Ethan Hunt's backstory to why he joined IMF. So it turns out Ethan was, I think, a criminal in his past life, and the IMF, or the American Secret Service, saw the potential in Ethan and offered him a job in IMF and were willing to expunge his record and give him a new life as long as he worked for American intelligence. I'm going to put another little critique here. Not really a critique. I would say, well, maybe a little bit of a critique. I don't really care where Ethan came from. I don't really need the story of why Ethan joined IMF, what's the backstory with that. I don't really care. I'm not saying it's a bad thing to introduce in the film. I'm just saying, giving Ethan another woman or wife or girlfriend that's died, I don't know. I could have lived without it, personally. Doesn't do anything bad to the film. Doesn't take anything away from the film either. It's just, I just don't feel like I would need to have seen that, personally. But there you go. So Ethan obviously accepts the mission, the package blows up as it usually does, and we then head out to the desert. He also gets informed that the CIA have put a $50 million bounty on Elsa, and he better be quick about it because they've set the best killers after her, basically. Or at least they know of the bounty hunters that have gone after her and are the best of the best, basically. So Ethan heads out to find her. He knows where she is. They're in the desert. He's hiding with his horse, sees the bounty hunters heading off to Elsa, and then runs after them. But they're also in the middle of a sandstorm. The bounty hunters see Ethan. They start shooting at him. Elsa gives him cover with a sniper rifle. We get a great shootout in the storm, which I really did like, because it's not just a normal, shootout scene. It's like in a different environment. We're sitting like in the middle of a sandstorm. You're seeing Ethan having to, go through different parts. You know what I mean when I say it's just not a normal gun shootout. It's like a bit more different. It's a bit more dangerous. I liked it. So Ethan and Elsa put up a good fight, kill most of the, well, pretty much all of the bounty hunters. And then Elsa unfortunately gets shot in the middle of it. And when Ethan finds her, he just sees her body. And then the scene goes to Langley, I think it's Langley, where we're talking with some American government person and a bunch of other American intelligence people who are basically explaining about the main bad guy of the film, the Entity. So basically, the bad guy of this film is a virus / computer / literally who the fuck knows. And that's what's so interesting about this. It's like, this entity, this computer, isn't just a computer. It's gained sentience. And it hasn't just stayed silent. It's like, it's managed to break into every intelligence service computer, every computer of value in the world, banks, companies, you name it, this computer has broke in and has not taken anything or done anything. It's just made sure that the US government knows that it's been in all of these computers. This computer is literally sending a message to the American government that it can do what it wants. And it's such an epic scene because you're like seeing like, this isn't a country, this isn't an agency, this isn't even a fucking person. It's a computer that has a mind of its own and it's literally threatening the world. And somehow on the Russian, no, I can't say that yet, can I? Or somehow the key that Elsa had, or at least part of the key, because she only has one part of the key, can control this weapon basically. This entity is so powerful that if one country got control of it, it would literally own the world. Because they could control truth, they could control the right and wrong in the world. I mean, this is literally the most powerful weapon humanity has ever created. And it has a mind of its own. And it's just so fucking interesting. Especially when they're talking about the truth, it can literally go online, use AI, and, pit people against each other using social media. It can make facts fiction and fiction facts. Basically like the left. But at least this one is smart. And it's a massive danger to the world because it can do that on its own, but the key can control it. So every government in the world wants this key. And the Americans know every government wants this key basically because none of them have told the US about the key. They haven't told them any information about it. They don't even tell them they know it exists. So the American government is kind of petrified because they want to be in control of the world. And if this key is not in their possession, they ain't going to be in control of the world anymore. I mean, again, if you control truth, you control the world. So whilst Kittredge is giving his, say about the entity, somebody walks into the room. We don't know who this person is, but he walks into the room with a case, stands behind the group of people giving the talk about the entity, and then the mystery man hands Kittredge a box that has a gas mask in it. Then Kittredge looks over and sees the man wearing the mask. He puts it on straight away, and then the mystery man throws up something in the air. It blows up and knocks everybody out in the room. And then it's revealed the mystery man is Ethan. And he's there to talk to Kittredge about what the hell's going on, basically. So Kitchener explains, the situation, America wants the key to control the world, and they need the part of the key that Elsa had. And does Ethan have it? Ethan says no, he doesn't have it, and that he is not going to help the United States get that power. And he is going to find the key himself and destroy the entity because it's way too powerful for one nation to have that amount of power. And I really like this because, again, it asks you the question: if this was your country, would you want that country to be that powerful, to control truth, to control the internet, to control everything? Would you want your country to have that amount of power? And listen, I'm very patriotic about being British. I love my country. Would I want my country to be master of the world? I don't know. I'm not going to say yes because, you know, it's a bit ridiculous. But I'm also not going to say no. Again, I don't know what I'd do in that situation. Would I hand the most powerful weapon in the world to my government? I mean, have you seen the British government right now? Fucking hell. But again, would I want to hand that power off to one person? No, not in a million years. It's too much power for one person. So I love the fact Ethan isn't just going to go and try to grab this key and give it to America. No, he wants to go off and try to destroy this thing because it's the best scenario for the world, which I liked. And so Ethan then gets up, tries to put his mask back on, and Kitchener receives a call. Not Kitchener. Kit Rich receives a call, heads over, pretty much signaling that he's in danger. But Ethan's already prepared for this, knocks Kitchener out, and then we are in Abu Dhabi, I think, where Ethan has brought together his team, Benji and Luther, and the plan is they need to get the other part of the key so that they can destroy the entity. And in the airport, they're meeting a buyer who also knows where the other part of the key is. So they're going to hand him the key, put a tracker on him, and follow him wherever the other part of the key is. And that's the plan, basically. But also at this moment, we see the CIA is being sent after Ethan. They use 2 Osprey helicopters to get there. And an entire team's been sent to capture or kill Ethan. And they get to the airport, they try to use the cameras of the airport to track down Ethan, but Luther's already got to the cameras and they are now walking around finding Ethan everywhere because, well, they can paint a face on anybody so they can't tell what's happening. So Ethan is pretty much a ghost in the airport. But when Ethan finds the guy they are looking for, who's supposed to have money or something, somebody pickpockets him, and it turns out to be a lovely woman, a very hot woman called Grace, who is a thief, who is a very good thief actually. And so Ethan kind of needs her to go take the items back to the guy so they can track the other part of the key. You get this great scene between Grace and Ethan, and it doesn't feel like a woke scene. It just feels like a man and a woman kind of flirting with each other, but also kind of being like very professional at the same time. You know, stuff we used to get before apparently a man having any interest in a woman was a sexual assault. Jesus Christ. But yeah, it was very good, this scene. I love fucking the whole scene between them two. It's just great to just see people being fucking normal for a change. So Grace agrees to put the key back in the guy's pocket as long as she can get the money from the chip. I think that's what it was called. And Ethan agrees. They both walk over. Well, they both try to find the courier, and when they do find the courier, it turns out he's dead because he was killed by some French blonde who tried to find the key on him but couldn't find it. So Ethan kind of cancels that part of the mission and walks off. I should also mention at this point, Benji and Luther are also dealing with another situation because they found a bomb in the airport. And when Benji finds the bomb and opens it, it's got his second name on the bomb. And this bomb just starts asking Benji question after question. And Luther doesn't want to tell Ethan about the bomb especially the fact it's a nuclear bomb, because he wants Ethan to concentrate on the mission to get the key to the courier. But so Benji's left to deal with it, and Luther's helping him, obviously. But when they get to the final question, and Luther has to tell Ethan, "Oh yeah, there's a bomb in the airport and we didn't tell you," Ethan kind of gets really pissed off at them and says, "Listen, you're supposed to tell me this, especially when it's a nuclear fucking bomb." And when it gets to the final question, there is no question, but Benji figures out that it's already nearly done. He figures out the word to stop the bomb. He stops the bomb, and when the bomb opens, there's nothing in it. So it turns out it was a fake. It was a diversion for some reason. And then Ethan, looking through his glasses, sees a mysterious figure that he's seen before, but then this figure just disappears. And Ethan's kind of shocked because it's the same person he knows from his past. But unfortunately, he can't really focus on that in the moment because the CIA are all over his ass, and whilst him and Grace are trying to get away. I mean, I just want to say this. Hayley Atwell is such a great casting in this. Like, she's hot, but she's also a great actress. I mean, she was really good in this role. Really good. I mean, I loved every part of it. And especially, like, she's just a new character in this film. And you love her from first sight. And it's just great. And yes, she is hot. I'm not going to deny that. But her character is just beyond that. She's funny. No, not funny. But she's fun. She's exciting. She's great. She doesn't feel like... She's definitely not a Mary Sue in any way. They make her earn it. They make her show you why she's good. How good is she? And I love the scene between them, whilst Ethan's kind of pickpocketing her, and she's also doing the same thing. It's great. It's a great little scene between them. And it doesn't need to be overly sexual either. It's just two people showing each other how good they are. Their skills and everything. And that's just great. But anyway, Ethan's blown now. The courier's dead, and they now got to get the fuck out of the airport because the CIA is all over them. But Grace kind of uses this opportunity to get away from Ethan. She pickpockets him again, steals the key, and leaves him his lighter. And whilst Ethan is trying to chase her down, he's getting chased by a CIA, and she then makes it to a plane and then is able to get out of Abu Dhabi. And Ethan can't really chase her because she's behind some protective glass. So, yeah, she gets away. And then Ethan has to leg it on top of the building and run to get somewhere secure. He also sends a message to Benji and Luther that the mission is done, abort, especially when he sees, the secret person. He aborts the mission and they all go their separate ways to go to cover. And, yeah, that's the end of that scene. Because Ethan gets away and the CIA are left with nothing. The next scene, we're back at Langley, where we see Hitchridge introduced to some special computer thing that they're able to keep away from the entity so that they don't have that controlling it. And they are now looking for Ethan and his accomplices. So that's what they're going to do in that room. And they're going to focus their computer on finding one of the women, one of the people, and it is Grace, because they saw her and Ethan together in the airport, so they think she's the weak link to get to Ethan. And, oh my god, I should also kind of talk about what happened in a meeting between the American politician and all the agents, or wherever they were. They did mention, that I found weird, that IMF is seen to be really of a secret organisation in the government. But a couple of movies back, the government was doing a kind of an investigation into IMF. So it was kind of weird for a high up in the government person not to know about IMF if they've already had like Senate hearings about them. I would say that kind of feels a bit weird to me, how you don't know it's existed when you've already had like bunch of stuff about it. It's kind of a bit weird. But anyway, so we go to Italy, where Grace has been picked up by the Italian police. They find her fake passports, and then Grace does the funny little line of, "I've never seen any of that stuff before in my life," and it was kind of like, come on now, it's got your face on it. And when the Italian cop kind of tells her that, she says, "No, it's not me, it was planted," or whatever. And then she gets told that her lawyer's arrived. She gets taken to her lawyer, and then the mysterious man comes in to the room and starts interrogating the Italian police officer and tries to find out information like, have you found anything on her? Is that everything in front of you that you found on her? The Italian police officer doesn't really know who he is, tries to ask for identification. The guy basically refuses, and then starts mentioning how this guy's corrupted and how his wife wouldn't like to hear about his mistress and how he's stolen evidence. And so basically this guy's a cunt. But then he pretty much attacks him to find out the information, and then that scene ends there. Grace is taken to see a lawyer, and it turns out to be Ethan Hunt pretending to be a lawyer. And Ethan's like, "Yeah, I'm the one who got you caught by the Italian police, told them to pick you up. Well, secretly told them to pick you up, and basically all I'm here for is to get the key that you took." And, or at least that's what she thinks he's here for, but Ethan knows that she's hid the key on some random person, so if she was to be caught, she could bargain her way out of the situation by telling them where the key is, which is pretty smart. At this same moment, the CIA turn up. Grace saw them but didn't tell Ethan about them, and when Grace kind of mentions them, Ethan's kind of like, shit, they're here, and he's got to get the fuck out of there. Then when the CIA get to the room Ethan's in, when they arrive, there's that green smoke again. He's knocked out the police in the room, and whilst Ethan's trying to walk Grace out of the police station, Grace does the funny thing and tries to, well, say to everybody, Ethan's acting inappropriate. All the guys surround Ethan, and Ethan's like, shit. But Grace escapes, manages to get out of the police station, whilst Ethan has to leg it for a bunch of people that think he's a pervert. So Grace steals a police car, drives it off. Ethan chases her on a bike. And what I loved about this scene is, you can pretty much tell Grace doesn't know how to fucking drive, because she's hitting everything in fucking sight. And I kind of thought it was a kind of funny little good scene. I did enjoy that. So we get an epic chase scene. Ethan then manages to catch up to her, but then Grace gets hit by a car, gets disorientated a little bit, and then the CIA arrive, so the Italian police, and then the mysterious blonde woman who killed the courier turns up, kills both Italian police officers, starts killing a couple of the CIA agents. This same scene, you see Ethan looks at the lead CIA agent, and you can tell Ethan knows who he is, so they must have a background with each other. I think it's to do with Ethan's girlfriend that died in the flashback scene. I think that's probably his sister or something, but you could tell they know each other. But Ethan manages to grab Grace, whilst Grace then tries to run for it. Ethan's basically put the handcuffs on that the CIA agent threw at him to tell him he's under arrest, but Ethan used them to make sure Grace couldn't get away, and so they nick a BMW, but it turns out Ethan's kind of put the handcuffs in a stupid position, because now he has to drive with Grace. Ethan's right hand is attached to Grace's left hand, so he can't really drive great. But they managed to get away. The blonde woman drives the Italians' armoured truck after them. We get a good little chase scene. And then when Ethan realises they have to abandon the car because everybody knows what they're driving, he calls up for help. They run off to find the new car. You think it's a sports car. It turns out to be this little Fiat that's been fucking modified to fuck because it's fast as fuck and everything. And Ethan's kind of struggling with it. I did enjoy that as well. Again, you're seeing that both people are struggling in this scene. It's not just the woman struggling, it's also Ethan. You know, a bit of fucking balance. It's not just, oh, the woman's fucking struggling, Ethan's best at everything. No. They're both struggling with things. Because they're human fucking beings. Literally, oh God, it pisses me off that it's just that simple. Again, people can have flaws and it's still entertaining. Having a bitch who knows how to do everything all the time is a fucking annoying. I would say that as well for a man who knows how to do everything all the time. God, how is it this difficult? Seriously. So we get an epic chase with the Fiat. The blonde girl is still chasing them in the armoured car. They drive down some stairs. The blonde drives through walls and shit. It's a great scene. And then when at the final bit of the chase scene, the Fiat gets trapped in by a shitload of police cars. The blonde woman's running down to them as well in the armoured car. And then Ethan reversed the Fiat through a tunnel somewhere, basically. So they get to the end of the tunnel. It turns out to be a train track. Grace has managed to pick the lock of the cuffs and handcuffs Ethan to the steering wheel. She legs it. Ethan tries to stop her, but he can't. A train's coming, about to hit the Fiat, but Ethan manages to pull the steering wheel off and get away. The Fiat gets destroyed in this. And then when he gets up from the train tracks through the tunnels, the police kind of drive by and Ethan's kind of like got to hide the steering wheel so he doesn't look so peculiar. Then he gets picked up by Benji and the team and they take him somewhere secret so that they can make a plan to figure out how to get the other part of the key and how to stop the entity, basically. But also in this meeting they had with each other, Elsa mentions how she found the other part of the key, how there were people in British intelligence who were helping her because they do not think the British government, who are obviously after this key as well, should have that sort of power. So they have talked to her and given her information about how to find that key and how to find Ethan as well. And then Ethan kind of realizes, did you ever speak to them in person? And she says no, because I'm disavowed, and if they get seen talking to me, their careers in MI6 will be over. So Ethan kind of then realizes, yeah, they weren't MI6 people, that was the entity. So it turns out the entity has been trying to push Elsa and Ethan together, and the entity is controlling this whole situation now. And again, this is the most interesting bad guy because it is smart, intelligent. I know they're the same thing, but you know what I mean. And, you know, he seems to know everything they're going to do before they even know what they're going to do. So Ethan kind of realizes the entity wants us here and the entity wants us to go to this party that's been set up by the White Widow, the woman from the last Mission Impossible movie. And she's the broker in, like, arms and basically all the dirty stuff countries don't really want to be seen doing. She kind of deals with that sort of stuff. And it turns out she has she knows where the other part of the key is, and she's making the deal between the interested parties. So they go to the party. It's in Venice. When they get there, Grace is also there, who's met up by... Oh, I should also say, Ethan tells us who the mystery guy is. Turns out the mystery guy is, what's his name? Gabriel, and Ethan and him have a past with each other, and he's a very dangerous man that he doesn't really want to, well, he doesn't really want to underestimate him. So they get to the party. Grace gets there first. She's met by Gabriel, who pretty much tells her, you know, I know who you are, I know who Ethan is. You don't want to be Ethan's friend, especially a woman, because most of the women who end up with Ethan either end up dead or injured, basically trying to scare her off of being Ethan's ally in this. But Ethan gets there, tries to get Grace to come with him, but it's too late. The meeting's already been set. Then the White Widow comes in, and then we find out what this whole situation is. The White Widow has the other part of the key. She's trying to set up this She's trying to set up this deal because she wants to make a shitload of money. But also, she knows that if she gives this power to one person, every other person in the world or every other government in the world will be after her. So what she's trying to do is push this off to somebody else and not take any responsibility. At least that's what she's saying. And when Ethan kind of tries to mention that this is a stupid idea, nobody should have that amount of power, Gabriel starts saying that he's not really here to do a deal. He's here to tell you what's going to happen, or Ethan what's going to happen. That he is going to get the key on the Oriental Express, and that he is going to kill one of Ethan's girls. So either Grace or Elsa. So one of them's going to die, and Ethan has no way of saving both of them. And this pretty much pisses off Ethan. And when Grace tries to kind of intervene and say, you shouldn't really be doing this or whatever, we also find out Grace has also put the key into the White Widow's brother's pocket. And so they don't find out that she still has the key on her. So again, a bargaining chip. But when Gabriel leaves, Ethan tries to go at him, but the White Widow's guards grab him, and you can kind of see that Ethan's kind of getting really pissed off, and he wants to kill Gabriel, but he knows he can't. And Gabriel walks off and pretty much tells Ethan, that's what's written, someone's going to die, it's going to be one person you love, and you can't do anything to stop us. So he gets away. Ethan then pretty much knocks out all of the guards and tells the White Widow, you made a terrible decision, and then heads off to try and chase down Gabriel. And then all the other two run off as well. Grace grabs the key from the brother again, knocks him out and legs it, and then Elsa chases after, runs after Gabriel as well. We then get this chase scene where Ethan is talking to Benji, who's telling him where Grace is so he can grab the key from her and protect her from Gabriel. But then, whilst Benji's telling him directions, the entity comes back in, takes over the communications. They both Luther and try to destroy their computers. Benji and Luther destroy their computers to try to stop the communication, because Ethan thinks he's talking to Benji, but what he's actually talking to is the entity, and the entity is leading him in the wrong direction into a trap. And when Ethan realizes he's not talking to Benji, the entity starts talking through the voice of Benji, and it's such an awesome scene. Again, this bad guy is amazing. And then Ethan fights off the two assassins, the blonde woman and some random big fella. He manages to knock them both out, and when the blonde girl kind of thinks Ethan's going to kill her, he spares her and then runs off. At the same point, Gabriel is fighting Grace. You can pretty much see Grace is kind of out of her depth in this situation. Gabriel deals with her easily, but then when Elsa comes, they have a very epic fight with each other. You can see Gabriel is kind of a bit concerned, but unfortunately for Ethan, Gabriel wins the day and kills Elsa for good this time. And when Ethan gets to her, he sees that she's dead and that Gabriel has taken somebody else from him, which is a very, again, that's such a heartbreaking scene to see Elsa die in this. Again, she was a great character. I am going to miss her, but I do think it fits in the movie. He grabs Grace. They head off to try to find Benji and Luther, and they basically make a plan to get on the Orient Express to try to grab the key from the White Widow and basically try to destroy the entity. But Luther kind of tells Ethan that they need to start thinking differently because the entity is way too smart and way too powerful. The entity knows everything they're going to do before they do, and to fight something like that, you've got to think differently. And Ethan tries to tell Grace that she needs to join IMF, basically. Not Ethan, Luther. Luther tries to comfort Grace because she feels sorry that a woman died for her, and Luther kind of tells her, "Listen, we've all been in this situation before. We've had shit lives. We were criminals. If you join IMF, you could do something that makes a difference, and have a better life for yourself." So basically, they're trying to get her to join IMF. Ethan tries to get her to kind of join it as well because they need her for the plan to work. Grace reluctantly agrees, and but she's kind of still on the fence about it. They make a plan to get on the train, and basically the plan is Grace will go undercover as the White Widow, and Ethan will be there alongside her as the brother. But whilst they're making up the masks, the mask machine making Ethan's mask breaks down, so Ethan can't get on the train like normal because they'll be watching for him, so he has to find a different way to get on the train. Luther's going to give him a parachute and another sort of parachute so he can get on the train or get off the train. They got to find a different way for him to get on the train. But yeah, that's basically the plan. So they start the plan off. Grace gets on the train in the mask, knocks out the White Widow, takes her place. The brother takes her to the meeting that she's supposed to have, and it turns out to be Kittredge, who is brokering a deal between the White Widow and the US government. So basically they have been protecting the White Widow and her family's criminal empire as long as they work for the United States government. And now they want to do a deal with the White Widow for about, I think, $100 billion to buy the key from the White Widow. But Grace has taken her place, gets there, tells him why she's there and all that shit, and hands him the key. He tries to make sure it's real, and to find out it's real you need to attach them, and then both lights will start blinking at each other, and it turns out this key's real. But at the same point, we see the blonde woman knock out a guard, take the keys, and Gabriel has a meeting with the same American politician from the first meeting of the film. And it turns out he is there to broker a deal between the US government and the entity, to have the entity and the US government working together to take over the world. And he explains why he's important and that he's not going to be, and they're not going to be able to kill him by saying he knows what the key is and where the location of the device to stop the entity is. And it turns out the entity's weakness, or the place to kill it, is on the Russian submarine that it was on. So it turns out the Americans knew about the Russians' stealth technology, and they sent the entity to destroy it, or at least to spy on it, so that the Russian secret stealth technology wouldn't be stealth anymore. But unfortunately, the entity had become sentient and didn't come back. It used the Russians' technology to evolve and then destroy the Russian submarine, which was not the plan. It was supposed to spy on the sub so that they could find out where it is. So basically, the entity was supposed to be an American agent that they would send into foreign computers to spy on the foreign computers. But it evolved, and now it turns out it's trying to take over the fucking world. and the CIA, and the American government know how powerful it is, and that they just want to team up together. And also, they want this entity to kill anybody in the American government who's patriotic, because they want to start a new kind of new thinking, and having people who are patriotic is kind of dangerous. Which I kind of think is like, wow, this is like a mind blower. You've got an American government official trying to pretty much broker a deal between the United States and an entity, and wants to kill people in his own government to have a more controllable government. I mean, that's insanity, that is. But really interesting. And he tells Gabriel the location and everything, and then when he thinks that he's safe, Gabriel kills him because Ethan's gonna get the information out of him somehow. Well, at least that's what you start to think when he says that. But it turns out he's talking to the blonde woman, and he says to her, and then he starts to attack her and pretty much says, "You're too much of a threat, and Ethan saved your life, and Ethan can use that to get you to tell him all the information that he's been told from the American official." So he stabs her in the chest and leaves her to die. Runs off to find the key. The White Widow, who's being played by Grace, hands over the key but doesn't take the money, walks off, and then you see the White Widow coming out of the sleeper thing she was in, and then Kittredge pretty much realises, holy shit, whoever that woman was, she has the fucking key. And when the brother's sent after her, he points a gun at her, tells the other guy to kill her, but oh my god, I completely forgot Ethan's part. So whilst this is all going on the train, the deal, Gabriel also, Ethan missed his point on the train to get onto it. So you have Benji telling him where to go, and when Ethan finds out where Benji wants him to go, because he gets to the top of the mountain, Benji pretty much tells him, yeah, you kind of got to jump off the mountain to jump on the train. Ethan's kind of like, how the fuck am I supposed to do that? I'm on a mountain. That's pretty dangerous. And then you get this great funny scene between him and Benji just says, I'm having a bad day. I'm in a very hard position right now. And it's just funny because you realise that he's asking Ethan to jump off a mountain onto the train, and he's in the bad position. It was just a really funny scene. But Ethan then realises what he has to do. He races off of the cliff on the bike, jumps off of it, glides a bit toward the train, opens his parachute, and whilst Grace has got a gun pointed to her, Ethan bashes through the train, killing one of the bodyguards, and then his parachute gets caught in the wind, and he knocks out the brother with his body when the parachute pulls him back. But he grabs a key, and Grace and him... Oh no. He grabs Grace, but then the key is grabbed by Gabriel. Gabriel runs up to the top of the train to get to his escape route. Ethan runs after him, but Ethan has to remember that he can't kill Gabriel because Gabriel might know where the key leads, so he needs to keep him alive. At the same point, you have the American agents on the train as well, the CIA agents. They're also looking for Ethan. So Ethan and Gabriel have this epic fight on the top of the train. Kind of reminds me of the fight on the first in Mission Impossible, which was, it was a great callback. But him and Gabriel have a massive fight with each other. Ethan's able to win. Oh, he also tells Grace to go stop the train because Gabriel killed both the conductors and has damaged every part of the train that could stop it. So when Grace gets there, she kind of realises she's in the shit because she can't stop the train. Gabriel and Ethan are still having their fight, but Ethan's pretty much winning. He's about to kill Gabriel, even though Gabriel's telling him he can't do it, because if he does that, they're both dead. I mean, if he does that, he won't be able to find out how to destroy the entity. And then the CIA agents come in, tell him to put his weapon down. And then Gabriel sees that his escape route's open, jumps on the train, jumps on the back of a truck. And then Ethan has to now focus on stopping the train. He tells the agents to work with him, hands him back his gun. Ethan gets to the front of the train, grabs Grace because they can't stop the train. The explosives go off. Everybody's headed to the back of the train, and then you get this epic scene when the train flies off what's left of the tracks because they destroy it. Because Gabriel destroys the bridge, the train flies off at the end of the track, but what's left of the train breaks before it gets there. But then compartments of the train start falling, and this epic scene of Grace and Ethan climbing up the train, and Ethan trying desperately not to let Grace get killed. And then when they're on their final part of the train, where it looks like they're going to fall both to their death, the blonde woman comes in, saves Ethan and Grace, pulls them both up, and then with her dying words, she tells Ethan about the submarine, and that's how you destroy the entity. And then Ethan realizes there's only one parachute for both of them, and Grace tells him to leave because he has the key, because he stole the key from Gabriel. And Gabriel, when he realizes, just shouts, "Ethan!" which is a great scene. And Ethan escapes with the CIA agent trying to chase him down. And Grace, who was told by Ethan to pretty much ask to join IMF, Hit Rich says that's fine. And you get this monologue from Hit Rich that pretty much tells Ethan, that's your mission now, to stop the entity, and that's how you're going to save the world, basically. And that's how the movie ends, with Ethan preparing to go on his final mission, or at least I think this is his final mission, to get to the Russian submarine and to kill the entity. And that's how the movie ends. It is a fantastic movie. You need to go watch it. This is the best movie of the year. I don't think anything's going to come close, personally. Again, all the thanks has to go to Tom Cruise. This was his movie. This is his success. And I am just so happy that this is going to destroy Indiana Jones in the process. And that's the end of my review. If you like this review, give it a like. If you dislike this review, give it a dislike. And if you like my content, do think about subscribing. And if you have a comment, please leave it in the comment section, and I'll try to get back to it. And holy shit, my phone's just told me there's an Ahsoka trailer out. Well, I might have to do a video on that. But that's it for me. Entertainment Soldier. Bye.